Hi everybody, this is Dr. Bulow and you are watching Life in Balance, and today we're going to talk about life connected. You know, I was recently asked if you were given a microphone to the world and given just 5 minutes to speak, what would you say? A microphone to the world in 5 minutes, that's actually a pretty loaded question, but after thinking about it for a little bit, I came up with just a few things that I wanted to share with you today. If I was given just 5 minutes to share with the world what it meant to me to live a full life, then my recommendation to a loved one or a friend or family member, if they want to live a life fully, would be to live life fully connected in 3 very distinct ways. The first way would be to live life fully connected physically. What do I mean by that, living life connected physically? I mean, what is it that keeps you alive physically? It's a pretty common question, but what is it literally that keeps your heart beating right now 80 to 100 times every single minute? How about the cell in your pancreas right now? Do you know how much insulin it's producing in this very moment? Are you controlling those things consciously? What is it that's keeping your lungs breathing, or the 75 trillion cells of your body perfectly working together in perfect harmony? So living life connected physically has to involve connecting us with that part of our body that runs the entire show. And of course here we value that and see that as being your brain. Your brain is what runs the show. If I cut the nerve to my arm completely stops working, right? But if perhaps instead of cutting the nerve, the connection between my brain and my arm, if I just crimp the nerve or pinch the nerve, most of us would feel that like a numbness or tingling down into our fingertips. But what about if I crimp the nerve going to my heart? Remember, the one that keeps your heart beating, that keeps beating 80 to 100 times a minute? If I crimp the nerve to that, I don't feel that numbness and tingling. You've probably never heard somebody at work say, "Oh man, my heart fell asleep over lunch today. I couldn't shake it loose. I had this numbness and tingling in my left lower lobe of my lung." What happens in that case? If I have a crimped nerve to my arm or my hand, I might have pain or numbness or weakness. But if I sever the connection from my brain to a certain organ in my body, instead of numbness or weakness or pain, very often it shows up like acid reflux, irritable bowel syndrome, high blood pressure, an irregular heartbeat, asthma, right? A lot of these other issues that we sometimes can't get to the root of are a disconnect from that organ to the brain. So number one, if I want to live life fully, then I must live fully connected physically to my brain, because ultimately my brain is what keeps me alive. On to number two. If I want to live life fully, I have to live life fully connected to myself spiritually, emotionally. I have to be connected with my life's purpose. So my question to you would be, what is your life's purpose? Do you know what it is? Have you thought about it? Have you milled over why you're here, or what it is that you aspire to be, or some of your life's goals and callings? Have you taken the time to write down those things? May I suggest doing that? Write down your goals and dreams. Review them on a daily basis. It reminds me of the story of the bricklayers, where there was a businessman walking down the street, and he came across bricklayers, and he asked the first bricklayer, he said, "What are you doing, sir?" And the bricklayer said, "I'm breaking my back. I come to the same job every day, and I bend over the same bricks every day, and I'm laying brick after brick. I'm going to die here. And they got me working 60 to 80 hours a week. I don't know what I'm doing with my life." So the businessman moves on to the next bricklayer, and he says, "What are you doing today, sir?" And the bricklayer says, "I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall. I get paid pretty well. Actually, I get overtime, so I actually make a little bit of extra money. I'm home by 6 most nights. I get to have dinner with my family, and I provide a good living. We go on vacation once a year. I can't complain." It's a different perspective, a different connection, a different goal. Goes on to the last bricklayer and says, "And what are you doing, sir?" And the last bricklayer said, "Oh, sir, sir, I'm building a hospital, a research center where they're going to save children's lives every single day. And every day I get to walk by and drive by this construction site and know that I'm a part of saving lives. You couldn't pay me enough to do what I do. What's the difference there? The difference in satisfaction between the different bricklayers is their connection with their purpose in their job. So what's the purpose of you in your job, in your family, in your walk of life? Can I suggest that if you want to live life fully, that you should get connected with your own inner desires and goals and dreams and aspirations? I think that's a pretty big deal. And lastly, number 3, if you want to live life fully, I suggest being fully connected relationally, being fully connected one another with your fellow human beings, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your families, being connected with them on a deeper emotional level. And to that I have to share with you a dream I once had. And you know how dreams are, they're not necessarily based on reality. And in this dream, I had achieved success, right? Anthony Robbins defines success as being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever in the world you want, with whoever you want, as often as you want. It's a pretty good definition of success. Do whatever, whenever, wherever, with whoever, and so on. Let me ask you something. If you had that kind of freedom, that kind of success, what would you do? Where would you go? Who would you spend time with? For me, I dreamed of going to all 4 corners of the earth, climbing the highest mountains and swimming and scuba diving in the deepest seas, flying in airplane jets and on speedboats all across the globe. And you know how dreams are, though. They get a little weird, right? In my dream, I had an epiphany. I had a realization that somewhere along the way, as I was doing all these things with all these people in all these extravagant places, I came to find that they weren't the people around me, my family, my friends, my associates, the people that I'd come to know and love, weren't actually people. Now they were there. They were physically there. I could touch them, I could hang out with them, I could have a conversation with them. But they were a different kind of species. They weren't human beings. I don't know if they were robots or artificial intelligence. The point is, they were not human. They looked like me, they sounded like me, they talked like me, and we got along, but they weren't human beings. They weren't my flesh and blood. And in that moment of worldly success, being able to do whatever, whenever, wherever, with whomever, if I'm alone as a human being, I don't know. Well, how does that make you feel if you're doing those things and then you realize the people around you aren't part of who you are and part of this life experience? For me, I felt empty. I felt alone. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. If I want to live life fully, I believe that I need to be fully connected with those people around me that are part of my life experience. So that's my challenge to you. This week, for the next month, for the rest of the year. If you want to experience life and all that it has to offer, can I suggest to you 3 things? Number 1, make sure you're connected physically. Seek out specific professionals that can assess whether or not your neurological function, your brain, is fully integrated and controlling your body to the fullest genetic potential. In my field, we call those specific chiropractors, typically upper cervical, but even standard specific chiropractors that are looking at the neurological effects of misalignments in the spine. Number 2, if you want to live life fully, can I suggest to you that you sit down on a regular basis and plan out your day, plan out your week? Because those days and weeks lead to months and years, which eventually leads to your life. So plan on them. Plan ahead for them. And number 3, if you want to live life fully, may I suggest being fully connected with those around you that are in your world. It's not always easy opening up, right? It's not always easy being vulnerable. But that's where the juice in life is. It's in the relationships that we build. It's all we have in this physical reality. All we have is our health. All we have is our personal goals and aspirations and the people in our lives that we get to enjoy it with. I hope you found this week's edition of Life in Balance enlightening. If you have any questions, if you have any desires, if you have any topics that you'd like for me to talk about, please, I'm all ears and absolutely accessible to you. I am enjoying this experience that I have with you, living my life fully, as I am hoping that you are living yours. I'll see you next time.